the Found Footage Festival, the Long Island Medium, and other Minnesota events. In this week's Lauren's List, Lauren Andrego highlights some of Minnesota's most unusual and amusing events, such as the hilarious Found Footage Festival and a live performance by the Long Island Medium. There is something unexpected for everyone on the schedule, regardless of your interests in psychic readings, strange movie snippets, or simply finding out about odd local happenings. Lauren explains where to go, what to see, and why these distinctively Minnesotan experiences are worthwhile. In this week's Lauren's List, Lauren Andrego showcases some of Minnesota's most peculiar, amusing, and plain odd events. There's a lot of unusual entertainment taking place all throughout the state, from a live performance by the Long Island Medium, which is ideal for anybody interested in psychic readings and spiritual connections, to the always funny Found Footage Festival, which features strange and forgotten movie snippets. Lauren explains where to go, what to anticipate, and why these very Minnesota events are worthwhile, regardless of your preference for the mystical, the strange, or just finding unanticipated local treasures. But the producers of Long Island Medium decided to film a special episode on a cool October morning in Long Island. Instead of following Theresa Caputo through the customary surprise readings at salons or grocery stores, the episode would bring together two people whose lives had been changed by her gift. It was their first time meeting. They had different backgrounds, various hardships, and different types of heartbreak. However, they were both burdened by a burden that only Theresa could lift. Marcus Rivera and Emily Hayes were their names. Emily was a 32-year-old kindergarten teacher who used to exude happiness. However, Emily had been in a peaceful purgatory ever since her younger sister Lily died in a terrible boating accident 2 years prior. She contacted her parents every night, went to work, and smiled at her students. But it all seemed muted, as though the world had lost its color. She held herself responsible for the mishap. She thought she could have prevented Lily from making that journey. She also thought Emily didn't care enough, which is why Lily died. Her knees bounced wildly as she sat in the studio chair, waiting for Theresa. Emily hardly noticed that cameras were rolling. The door then opened. "Hello, honey." With her usual exuberance from Long Island, Theresa yelled out, "How are you? My name is Theresa." Emily got up and shook Theresa's hand with her quivering fingers. Theresa hesitated, cocking her head as though she was the only one who could hear. Theresa whispered, "You lost a sister." Emily stopped, her breath caught. "She is standing just behind you, and she is telling me that you have been harboring guilt that is not yours." Emily's eyes immediately filled with tears. She says, Stop," Theresa went on. "Don't blame yourself. It wasn't your responsibility to stop me, the boat. I came to my own conclusions." With relief, anguish, and bewilderment pouring out of her, Emily buried her face. "I thought she was angry at me," she muttered, her voice breaking. Theresa firmly shook her head and stated, "No. She told me that you were a location where she felt comfortable. She would especially like to thank you for maintaining her journals. I love how you read them when you miss her," she says. Emily took a sharp breath. The diaries were unknown. She had never told anyone, not even the producers, and she had never brought them up on television. They were wrapped in one of Lily's old scarves and stored in a box beneath her bed. Theresa touched Emily's arm tenderly. "Live again, Em?" she wants to say. "Please." Emily's heart was shattered by those remarks. She felt as though she could breathe again for the first time in 2 years. Marcus was a 45-year-old Queens firefighter. Carlos Rivera, his best friend, mentor, and the man who taught him everything from changing oil to dancing salsa, was a man who survived smoke and flames, but not the emotional torment of losing his father. 3 months prior, Carlos had unexpectedly passed away after a heart attack. Since the funeral, Marcus had not shed a tear. He had buried himself in work and solitude, swallowing everything. He needed closure, so his wife persuaded him to attend the performance. He simply consented because he didn't want to let her down. Marcus folded his arms like a shield and took a seat across from Theresa. "I'm not really into this kind of thing," he replied. Theresa grinned. "That's all right, your father is." Marcus blinked. Theresa continued, "In fact, he's talking my ear off." Marcus lowered his arms gradually. Theresa listened for a bit while looking up. "Does it feel familiar that he is referring to you as mi campeón?" Marcus's throat became constricted. When he was a boy, his father called him such. He says you stopped going to the firehouse memorial, Theresa added. He's upset because you're becoming quieter and smaller, and that's not the person he raised. Marcus didn't glance up, but his eyes glistened. Theresa waved her hand as though she were sifting among invisible items and said, "He's also showing me a watch. A gold one. Tell him that his absence wasn't his fault," he says. I was aware of his love for me. Marcus had the impression that someone had struck him in the chest. Marcus had promised to visit the night his father passed away, but he never did. Every day since, he had placed the blame on himself. Theresa bent closer. "Forgive yourself," he adds. "I've already done it." He was broken by that. Marcus's face broke down in silent, uncontrollable tears. At last, he gave himself permission to experience everything he had been suppressing. Theresa said, "Your father wants you to take your son fishing." Just before the session concluded. "You two used to go to the same place." "It's time for new memories," he says. With a trembling breath and a relieved heart, Marcus nodded. In order to film a reflection piece, producers took Emily and Marcus into a quiet lounge area after their solo readings. They were strangers. They were unaware of one another's backstories. However, two strangers bonded by love, loss, and the unseen thread Theresa had pulled back into their lives were united by something unsaid when they sat down opposite one another. Emily dabbed at her tears. "Did it also assist you?" Marcus gave a slow nod. "More than I anticipated." Emily grinned, a tiny, sincere grin she hadn't had in years. "Me too. It feels like Lily is back. Not gone." Marcus gave a long, deep breath. "I feel more at ease. For example, I can now speak with my father without feeling overwhelmed by guilt." They discussed loss, memories, unexpected indications from loved ones, and the strange healing power of what had just happened for about 30 minutes. They embraced like old friends when the camera stopped rolling. Two individuals who entered shattered, walked out unscathed. Theresa took a chance to sit by herself in her dressing room once filming was finished. "Thank you for helping me help them," she muttered, touching the cross chain around her neck. For the first time in years, she could hear Emily smiling quietly outside her door. Additionally, Marcus called his wife to inform her that he loved her and would be returning home early. Theresa's smile was warm, broad, and determined. But hours after completing another emotionally taxing reading, Theresa Caputo stood by herself in her Long Island dressing room. It was silent in the studio. There were no cameras. Members of the crew had returned home. The only sound above her was the gentle hum of the fluorescent lights. She took a seat in front of the enormous mirror, the one with the glowing Hollywood lights, and gradually started to brush her famously blonde hair. Every stroke seems to unleash a torrent of recollections. It was different tonight. She wasn't getting ready for a reading tonight. She was getting ready for a talk tonight. Theresa was requested to record a unique part earlier that day by the producers. In her younger years, what guidance would Theresa Caputo offer? Theresa initially dismissed it with a laugh, but the question lingered in her mind like a spirit whisper. Then there was silence. Something warm encircled her shoulders, the same thing she had known when she was a youngster. She opened her eyes and let out a gasp. A bashful, uncomfortable girl, perhaps 13 years old, with long bangs, sweater sleeves that covered her wrists, and a frizzy mess of hair stood next to her studio chair. First to speak, the girl's voice was little, brittle, and tremulous. "Are you me?" Theresa felt her throat constrict. "Yes, honey, I am you. Somewhat older, a bit more volume. Better hairspray, too." Nervously, young Theresa giggled. She was signaled to take the extra chair across from her by the elder Theresa. The light bulbs around the mirror gleamed somewhat brighter when the girl sat down, almost as though spirit itself wished to hear. "Aren't you afraid?" Theresa, who was older, asked softly. Young Theresa gave a nod. "The kids at school think I'm strange. I see stuff. I have feelings. There are instances when I'm aware of things before they occur. And my hair is always a mess," she said, grabbing a handful of frizz. Theresa chuckled quietly. "Oh, my dear, the hair? I promise it will become iconic. More people will comment about your hair than your present." Theresa, young, blinked incredulously. "Really? Really? Strangers will one day pause you in the supermarket and remark, 'Theresa, you look so good with your hair.' But pay attention. Your gift is authentic. You're not strange. You are a medium." The girl's eyes got bigger. "A medium? Like a person who converses with ghosts? Theresa extended her arm to grasp her hand. No. Like a person who assists others in getting better. Someone who relays messages from loved ones that others believed had passed away. A person who serves as a conduit between the living and the dead. Theresa, young, swallowed hard. Can I actually do it, though? You are already. You simply aren't aware of it yet. Spirit energy swirled around them and the room flickered. Theresa sensed the emergence of memories that her younger self had not yet experienced. You'll feel alone for years to come, older Theresa remarked. Your gift won't be understood by others. Friends may leave. Even relatives might raise an eyebrow. You mean they won't accept my story? Some won't, not initially, and it will be painful. However, each tear you shed contributes to the healing you will eventually provide for others, my love. Every doubt turns into a teaching moment. Every grief turns into a tale you may use to support others. The voice of young Theresa fell. Does things improve? Oh, honey, it becomes lovely. Theresa caressed her hair once more as a young girl. However, what about this? I'm so insecure. Theresa, who was older, started giggling. You won't believe it, but millions of people will eventually be able to identify you just by your hair. It will be large, audacious, blonde, and amazing. They will make jokes about it. But you know what? You'll be fantastic. Additionally, the hair will become a part of your confidence, much like your gift. Imagining that, the girl grinned. But keep in mind, Theresa said gravely, confidence isn't derived from hair. It results from having self-confidence, spirit of trust, having faith that the course you are on is the one for which you were intended. In a whisper, young Theresa said, I'm afraid I'll make a mistake, but I want to help people. You're going to make a mistake, Theresa, who was older, spoke politely but plainly. And it's all right. You'll discover, you'll develop, and spirit won't abandon you. The most difficult times will mold you into the person you were destined to be. Young Theresa bent over. When should I begin? When can I be certain that my gift is authentic? Theresa's nostalgic voice grew softer. You'll be a young lady folding laundry while sitting in your kitchen. You will suddenly experience a presence that is stronger than anything you have ever experienced. Your mind will be filled with names, words, and images, and you will know that you must share them. Will I be believed by the individual? They will weep. They'll give you a hug. Thank you. I needed that more than you realize, they will say. Theresa's young eyes glistened with optimism. Older Theresa finally inhaled deeply. Time had come. The actual message. Listen attentively, honey. If nothing else, keep this in mind. Don't conceal your identity. Your talent is not a liability. It's what you're here to do. Don't be scared of the size of your personality. People will benefit from your voice. You'll turn your hair into a sign. Hearts will be healed by your laughter. Have greater faith in the spirit than in your anxieties. Spirit won't mislead you. Even when you're preoccupied with helping others, remember to look after your heart. You'll donate a great deal. Remember to give as well. Don't care about what other people think of you. Eventually, those same folks will seek your assistance. And above all, never, ever are you alone. Not right now, not going forward. Never. Tears welled up in young Theresa's eyes. Are you promising? Warm and charged with spirit energy, older Theresa drew her into an embrace. I swear, my love, you will grow up to aid in the healing of thousands of individuals. You will help people believe in miracles once more, touch hearts, and convey messages. But Theresa Caputo got out of her car with her trademark leopard print bag and the nervous thrill she always felt before a reading, just as the late autumn sun was starting to set behind the roofs of Long Island. The session today wasn't planned. It was one of those times when spirit forced her to do something, and she couldn't help but feel it. Following a brief but devastating letter from a woman called Marissa Dalton, the producers set up a peaceful area in a community center in Hicksville. My brother passed away 6 months ago. I'm having trouble falling asleep. He seems to be attempting to express something, in my opinion. Marissa was already seated at a little circular table by herself. In front of her was an unused coffee cup with long-faded steam. She appeared worn out, as though the entire world were resting on her shoulders. Theresa smiled warmly as she approached her, her shoes clicking lightly on the ground. As usual, she opened her arms to give an embrace and said, "Hello, sweetheart. My name is Theresa." Marissa got to her feet, her voice faltering. "I appreciate you seeing me. I'm not sure what to anticipate. Theresa put a kind touch on Marissa's arm and replied, Well, neither do I. I have no idea what Spirit has in store. However, your brother, he has already arrived. Ever since I got out of the car, he has been pacing. Marissa's breath caught as her eyes grew wild. Are you serious? Theresa laughed and brushed her hair back, saying, Oh, yeah. He says, Theresa, come on, I've been holding out. Theresa grounded herself for a bit by closing her eyes while they sat at the table. The faint buzzing she knew was Spirit getting ready to speak made the air thick. All right, she said. He is taking a step ahead. Is your guilt the first thing he wants you to understand? You must let that go. Marissa gazed at the table. I feel like I let him down. I knew it. Theresa jerked her head up. Stop, honey. He's actually shouting. Tell her she didn't fail me, he says. Inform her. Marissa's cheeks were wet with tears. She tried not to cry as she covered her mouth. Softly, Theresa added, He's showing me a hospital room. I feel pressure in my chest, and there are a lot of equipment beeping. Marissa muttered, That's how he died. A heart attack. Suddenly, I wasn't present. I was caught in traffic. Theresa remarked, He's shaking his head, honey. None of that mattered, he claims. He recalls that you spoke with him on the phone. Every syllable was heard by him. Marissa's shoulders trembled as she broke down. I informed him that I would be arriving. Hold on. Please, hold on, I said. Theresa's tone grew softer. He claims to have done so. I waited for your voice, he says. As soon as he sensed your affection, he departed. For him, that was sufficient. Marissa put her hands up to her face. I assumed he passed away by himself. No, Theresa firmly stated. He wasn't by himself. According to Spirit, a soul is welcomed as it crosses. He is displaying to me an elderly woman with her hair in a bun. A granny, perhaps? Marissa let out a gasp. Our grandmother. She brought us up. There you have it, Theresa said with a smile. They welcomed him. He was secure. Even though no one had touched the thermostat, the room felt warmer, as if the heat had been turned up. As the spirit energy grew stronger, Theresa inhaled deeply. He's now displaying a red bicycle to me. Does that have any significance? Marissa's laughter was stifled. Oh my God! He wanted his bike to look like a race car, so when we were youngsters he painted it red. However, he used nail polish instead. It was a catastrophe. Theresa chuckled. He says it looked awesome. For the first time that day, Marissa smiled as she wiped away her tears and remarked, It didn't. Theresa abruptly straightened, her face taking on a serious expression as the lights flickered a little, which was always the case around powerful spirits. She answered softly, He's showing me a box. Like a wooden box, perhaps? You haven't opened it, he adds. And so Marissa stopped. She hardly raised her voice above a whisper. His toolbox. I still have it at my flat. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. There is something inside for you, he says. Something he intended to offer you throughout his lifetime. Marissa's heart was covered. He constantly claimed to have a surprise in store for me. However, he passed away before he could deliver it. Theresa gave a nod. Return home, crack it open. Also, don't be scared. You'll get his meaning well. Marissa started crying once more, but this time it was more subdued, almost serene. Theresa bent closer. He's pleased with you. He says it again and again. You're stronger than you realize, he says. I don't feel strong, Marissa said. Well, he doesn't agree, Theresa remarked. Out loud, he's also demonstrating to me that you're not sleeping. He claims that you hold his photo while you sit up crying at night. Yes, Marissa said, swallowing. I keep hoping I'll see him in my dreams. Theresa gave a soft smile. He's with you, honey, so you don't dream about him. He claims that while he is standing next to you half the time, it is difficult to enter dreams. Marissa laughed quietly. That really does sound like him. Theresa let out a soft sigh. He wants to show me one last thing before he departs. He's making me feel like I'm listening to music, like a vocalist. Marissa stopped. He would constantly sing off-key in the car. Spirit led Theresa to begin humming a sloppy off-key tune. Marissa started crying and giggling at the same time. Oh my God, he sounded just like that, Theresa remarked. He wants you to remember the joy. It's not just the pain. There was a quiet pause between them. Theresa felt the spirit take a step back, content and at peace, as the buzzing in the air gradually subsided. Marissa's hands were taken by Theresa as she reached across the table. He has stopped talking. He is therefore at ease, and he has faith in you to proceed." Marissa nodded, her breathing much easier as she wiped away her tears. "I'm grateful. I feel lighter, as if a stone had been raised," Theresa remarked. "That's your brother. He doesn't want your sorrow to overwhelm you. He desires for you to live." An extended hug marked the end of the session. For the first time in months, Marissa clung to Theresa like a person clinging to hope. Theresa glanced over her shoulder as she made her way back to her car, the sky now a deep purple. Marissa stood beside the entrance, grinning quietly, the look of someone who had at last reconnected with herself and her brother. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Mina, and I hope you're having a great day. Remember to subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the video.